Welcome back to the Webby and O'Neill channel, and thanks for joining us for another video. As you can guess by the thumbnail and title, we're going to have a discussion about Sir Jim Ratcliffe's interview that he gave with the Times newspaper. We're going to discuss it today, break it down, and give our honest opinions as usual. So, yeah, start us off with what you think about this interview, because there's lots in there, isn't there?
There's absolutely loads in there. Listen, my first reaction was to read it twice because I could not believe what I was reading. My first thought was Gary Neville's interview on Monday and how he's going to react to this, because what's in this is about Glazer and backing Glazers. And Gary pushed at him and never really got an answer. Now, Gary Neville is a United fan. So my first thought is this week, how is he going to react to working with a man what clearly is backing the Glazers and admires them?
It does actually admit that it's actually been unpleasant and it's not been fun as the co-owner since he's come in at running Manchester United as well.
What did he expect? A bed of roses. The club is rock bottom. This club is just like tarnished. It's garbage. It needs a good clear out, and that's what I expected from Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I didn't expect him to keep opening his mouth. Do your job. Clear it out. We accept what's got to be done. He doesn't need this, but the abuse is getting the abuse because he keeps opening his mouth. And time again, we've said, why is he doing this? It doesn't make sense. Just keep quiet. And this, what he's just done, just topped it all, because it is an absolute bomb going off in his car. That's how it sounds.
Yeah, it does. And
just blown himself up.
Yeah, seems a bit of a loving between Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers. And he did talk about criticism as well, but also talked about there's a line there of going over that in terms of then getting abuse. And he said he actually can put up with the criticism, but it's not nice for friends and family.
He's not listened to any advice. He clearly doesn't understand this United fan base, what's been going on since the Glazers have got in here. Calls himself a fan. It's abuse, what the Glazers get. He's getting stick. What does he expect when he's aligned to the Glazers and he's backing the Glazers? He's complimenting them in every way when there is nobody I know got a nice word to say. So he's going to get abuse, and he's going to get more abuse with what he's just wrote in this article. So where's his advisors? His advisors are telling him, keep stum. He won't keep stum, but that's the ego of Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He thinks he knows better.
He did say, and you can see on the top line there, so eventually, if it reached the extent that the Glazer family have been abused, then I'd have to say, look, enough's enough, and he would probably walk away.
Listen, I've spoke to United fans, and that's what I've done. I just think to myself, I need to speak to United fans. Let's see what the reaction is, and that, friends of mine and that. And the alarm bells are ringing right there with that comment. That comment there tells you the alarm bells. People think it's already planning an exit strategy. And the thing is, what they mean by that is, in the discussions what I've had is that if this club doesn't get the go-ahead for the regeneration for the Old Trafford area, that ground will not be built. Well, that means money has to be found, and it will be debt put on the club or Ineos to renovate Manchester United. Well, he wanted the Wembley of the North, and if he doesn't get it, and there's other things in the article what point to the alarm bells are ringing, but if he doesn't get it, there's a lot of money, personal money, got to be put in. And we all know the Glazers ain't putting it in.
Like we'll discuss later in the video, and we've mentioned there's a lot of defence in this article for the actual Glazers for Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and he actually says there, as you can see on screen, they can't really come to a match, the Glazers. They've retreated into the shadows a bit now, so I'm getting all the bloody stick. Now, they've been silent owners ever since they walked through the door here at Manchester United, the Glazers.
Well, he's utter clueless. He's utter clueless in what he's talking about. They've retreated. They've just retreated into the shadows. They've never been here. So where's he been? But that just shows you he's backing the Glazers. He's protecting them. He's not saying one bad word about him. But he's supposed to be a savvy businessman. And he's coming out with that when everybody, and that's why I go to Gary Neville, that's why my thoughts come into it. He's protecting the Glazers and he's backing them and everything. And he doesn't understand this fan base. He's exposed himself. And for me and many other United fans I've been talking to this weekend, he's Glazer Mark too, because everything in there points to it, and it points to money. And that's what it's about. The football team should come first, and he's going for the money. That's how I see it, and many other United fans. And he's backing the Glazers. It's unbelievable, this article, and it's unbelievable the comments he's making, and how anyone over the next week can come out and back Sir Jim Ratcliffe with these comments. I'll be mystified.
Yeah, there's a lot more to get into as well, especially when he talks about Nice, which we will get into. But he sort of then contradicts himself after the last bit that I read out, and he said, we bought into the club and I haven't seen them since. So it's just telling you, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, that they've always been in the shadows. You've come in as a co-owner, and you've not seen them ever since.
Well, it's PR, you see. This is the problem with this article. His PR people told him not to mention, and I've said to him for quite a while, don't mention the Glazers, there's no need and all that. And then he's just talking about the Glazers here, and it doesn't make sense what he's saying. Like Kieron says, he's contradicting himself. Savvy businessman, intelligent man and all that. And he's doing an article there on his own. He's not really having the PR people point out, here's what to say and here's not what to say. He's talking off his own back and opening his mouth and putting his foot right in it as though he hasn't got a clue. And that's why I say he's utter clueless. Utter.
You talk about putting his foot in it. He's definitely got a Boris Karloff boot on in the way he's actually putting his foot in it. And I think this next bit will actually make people's blood spoil, to be honest with you. Because it did remind me where I was just left in shock. I've got to be honest with you. And as you can see, they said, to be fair to the Glazers, they're really good on the commercial side. The people who advise me say the fans don't want to hear it. So I've got to be cautious. I get a lot of criticism if I support the Glazers, but the fact is, they're really decent people. They're East Coast, you know, the old East Coast of America. Very polite people. They're very civilized. They're the nicest people on the planet.
I've got to be cautious, he says, and then he goes into that tripe of a conversation. Not one person I know, I've not seen people talk like that about the Glazers. Not one. And this is why many United fans I've spoken to think the alarm bells are ringing right here, because he's going to get dog's abuse, pure dog's abuse, if things don't start changing here at Manchester United and if things go wrong, okay, where the financial side of it puts a strain. He's got the excuse. I'm getting dog's abuse on the level of the Glazers. It's not enjoyable. I'm not enjoying it. I'm out of here. That's what he actually says.
He actually sounds overwhelmed, I think, at times, when he talks about the running of Manchester United, about it not being fun, etc.
Not being fun.
Yeah.
Listen, as a United fan, he claims to be a United fan. You have your ups and downs and everything else like that. He claims to be a top businessman, and I'm not doubting some of the business things what he's done. He's took companies what were garbage, and he's turned them round and made them profitable. He thinks he could walk in here to Manchester United and do exactly the same. He's not a football man. For me, he's not got United in his heart. He wanted Chelsea, he wanted Barcelona, he wanted other clubs. He's got Nice. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, for me, I think he's just way, way off it here, and he's standing alone. And he is going to get it when things turn nasty, if they don't turn round in the early part of the season. And I'm not going to blame anyone. I'm not going to blame anyone, because this bloke's not listening to anybody. He is a billionaire, multi-billionaire, and his ego is right out in front. Don't tell me I want to say things and I'm going to say them. You look at all the comments last week, what he was talking about. Some of these players aren't good enough. They're overpaid and all that. I mean, what's he doing talking like that? There's a lot he said this week and under Gary Neville last Monday, right? What don't make sense for someone like this. Omar Barada is the man leading this club, and he should be the one out front talking. He has put his money in, sit there. He wants to build an iconic stadium. He wants to leave a legacy. Well, just sit there. He won't sit there.
Let the football people in charge in the positions run the football club and run it with the big footballing decisions and leave them decisions to them.
That's exactly what you want. You see it in other clubs, what's going on there. You see Liverpool owners and that, they're in the background. Every now and again, they just come in, sit down, but they're very quiet. These other football clubs, I use Liverpool as an example. This man, ego and his arrogance and his knowledge is poor. His
knowledge of the fan base.
Listen,
the knowledge of the fan base is what really strikes me. Of how detached away from the fan base he actually is.
Well, this is
especially when he claims to be a Manchester United fan, born and bred.
Many United fans out there would have read this, and you're right, Keir. The detachment and the understanding of what the Glazers are to this club and what they've done to this club and what the fans feel about them, the detachment from reality is gone, absolutely gone from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and I don't think he's going to last long. And I think it's for me, I just think he's planning an exit strategy, and it's all under the words of, if it stops becoming enjoyable, well, what's that all about? Where's your loyalty? Where's your plan? Where's your 5-year plan? Where's your 10-year plan? You know, oh, I'm not happy today. I got a load of stick and I've just threw my toys out the pram. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
He's planning, he's making an excuse to come. So it's going to be very interesting how Gary Neville sums this up.
Yeah, he did go into more details surrounding that, and he said the way I look at it, that you had 2 management teams at Manchester United for the past 12 years who did a poor job because of the owners weren't there, like I say. He then mentioned Steve Parish, Daniel Levy at Tottenham. They weren't really into the details, but those 2 know what's going on. They're there every day, and the management at their clubs are on a short leash.
Well, he's admiring these 2 people, okay? They're turning the clubs around, and it's about money. Daniel Levy is all about money. Tottenham have won nothing for generations, and the Spurs fans are absolutely mental. They're desperate for something, anything. Just put something on the table. They'd have been happy 5 years ago. They'd have still been content now if they'd have won a Carabao Cup 5 years ago. They've won nothing. They see what Daniel Levy is. He's a money man. They've got an absent owner in America. That's the way it is.
Joe
Lewis. Absent owner doesn't come, okay? Making money, and that's what Daniel Levy. So he's impressed with Daniel Levy for one reason and one reason only, not as a football fan, as a businessman. And this is a man, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who coming here says he don't care about money. And then he's admiring Steve Parish, who's turned that round and he's making the money. Palace know where they are. So long as it's turning over, it's making money. Steve Parish, quite rightly, is in there because from a financial point of view, he has to be in there. And he's admiring these people. Where's the football people he's admiring? It's money, it's business. And he's told us for a while, and I never trusted him. I've said it from day one. I never trusted him. Anyone who's been here with the channel that long, I've never trusted him. And here, he outs himself. He absolutely outs himself on who he looks at. He looks at people who are making money, not trophies, not what the supporters want, not the legacy of the fans or anything else like that.
You take a deep breath.
I'm trying to. But the more and more to talk about it.
Right, well, I've got more here for you, so you just take a deep breath right now.
Okay.
Obviously, on that previous part, what I mentioned, it tailed off. And again, it seems like he's shielding the Glazers from any blame at all. And he started saying that he couldn't have tolerated Ed Woodward or Richard Arnold. Richard was a rugby man. He didn't even understand football. Ed didn't have the actual credentials to manage the football club. He was a merchant banker and an accountant. He wasn't the chief executive. Now, them comments have got merit to it, though.
They've got merit to it.
You know, specifically on Richard Arnold and Ed Woodward, in my eyes, anyway.
Yeah, it's got merit to it. But who employed Woodward?
Of course.
The Glazers. And he's admiring the Glazers. And, you know, he talks all about it. And there he is there, slagging them off. But at the same time, praising him. It doesn't make sense. You know, why make personal issues with ex-employees what aren't there at Manchester United? It doesn't make sense to make enemies. Right, okay, there's people inside there what work with these people, what are still there, right, and probably still associate with them. So Why are you creating enemies? There's no need. There is no need for these comments at all. None whatsoever. You're creating enemies. You're creating headlines for the media and everything just to come pouncing on you. Doesn't make sense.
He was actually asked as well about why he... What was his motivation for purchasing Manchester United, you know, his share for being a co-owner, but it was all very vague. It wasn't really a clear answer.
Like I've just said, you know, he's admiring people who make money, and he's telling everyone when he's coming here, he's here and he don't care about money. Everything he's saying now is backfiring on him because there's that many interviews he's done. You can look at it and go, well, he said this one time and now he's saying something different. It's all baffling, all baffling.
Yeah, he did also take a shot at David Moyes as well. And as you can see there on the screen, he says, look, I like David Moyes and I think he's a really good manager. But to go from Sir Alex Ferguson to Moyes is not where I would have gone. Moyes stepped into the shoes of Ferguson, who won the Premier League 13 times, who won the Champions League twice. And then you're handing it over to a guy that had never managed big players and had never won anything now. Obviously, as we all know as fans, Sir Alex Ferguson had a big input on Moyes being the successor to him as manager, but also, again, them decisions would have had to have been run past the Glazers and been rubber stamped by them.
It would have been rubber stamped by the Glazers because Sir Alex Ferguson wanted David Moyes. Everyone knew that. And he's talking there and slagging Sir Alex Ferguson off for bringing Moyes in. It's really a Ferguson decision. Yes, Glazers rubber stamped it. Sir Alex Ferguson sat in there and he now will be looking at Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He's opened a can of worms with people inside the club and with a great manager, Sir Alex Ferguson. What's going on? Where is the intelligence of Sir Jim Ratcliffe? How stupid is this man? Come on, think about it. He's slagging Sir Alex Ferguson off.
Yeah. And defending and shielding the Glazers all in the meantime. And again, I think for the third time in this video, he actually then defends and shields the Glazers again. And he says he's got a very professional partnership with the Glazer family. They're really honest, straightforward, not what you expect when you read about them in the press. And they're both, in brackets, Avram and Joel, the most involved in the club and they're passionate about Manchester United. He says, I like them as people, to be honest. They could have given us a bloody hard time, couldn't they, when we cocked up with the Dan Ashworth and Eric Ten Hag thing. I mean,
what's he talking about?
What is he on about? But then he actually goes on about criticism, like we highlighted early on in the video, that, you know, yeah, I don't mind a little bit of criticism, but when it goes over to abuse from the fans, I'm not going to tolerate it and I'll walk off. But, you know, the Glazers didn't give us an hard time about it, but...
This is how them comments, what Kieran's just said, don't make sense about the Glazers, because he's turned round in the article and he said, when we bought the club, we've not seen him since. No. We've not seen him since. Yeah. The article, what Kieran's just read out there, right, contradicts what he says. When we bought the club, we've not seen him since.
Yeah.
In other words, they've been dumped. And maybe he's realising how tough this place is and what's going on, and that the Glazers have had him right over. Not seen him since.
Yeah, this is...
I'm getting absolutely, right, off my head on this. I tried not to be, but the more I talk about it, and it was only like the other day when I was speaking to the lads and that, you know, we was talking about it, some of them were getting angry and all that. And I don't think Ratcliffe understands what's coming here.
It's crazy as well that he actually employs a PR team, and that same PR team are telling him to be cautious and not to talk about the Glazers the way he continues to do in every single interview. And he's just dismissing that actual advice as well. And
so how can we trust him going forward that he won't interfere in jobs what are already there for people like Omar Barada? Okay? There's other people who's been put in there. We can't trust this man for not interfering.
The thing is, I've got to look at it from one point of view as well. Look, he put his own money to buy his share at Manchester United. He's entitled to an opinion. He's entitled to be on board and in the room when they're discussing finances and strategy on the football pitch. But surely people like your Omar Barada, your Jason Wilcoxes of the world, they should be having a large input on that, and it's their decision making that should be rubber stamped, not anything that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has in mind, in my opinion, because we've seen it with other clubs over the past few years in the Premier League that once the owners actually really get involved into the football making decisions, it goes pear-shaped.
Well, it's going pear-shaped. It's going pear-shaped right now.
Yeah.
Okay. All Sir Jim Ratcliffe is doing is waffling, PR, and showing out what he really is.
He then went and talked about Nice. And I'm not too sure how to take this. I've read it a couple of times, but let me know what your opinions are. He says the best season that Nice has had is the one where we've not been allowed to get involved because of the multi-club ownership rules. They've been so much better without our interference. Maybe that's a lesson there as well, you know.
That's a big lesson. It's a big lesson, right? That's a smack in the eyes, right? But coming out with that is like silly because it makes him look an absolute plank.
Maybe it draws back to as well the decision making around Dan Ashworth, Eric Ten Hag as well.
I'd listen, all the decisions, that just makes him, that comment there and that realisation and actually saying it, right, and reading it out, Kieron, makes him look an absolute fool who knows nothing about football. So that might be a lesson going forward for us United fans to be watchful on.
I have seen some people across social media. I've even had conversations with people face to face. And one of the things that they do come out with, and it's always the same line that, you know, what do you think Sir Jim Ratcliffe is? Stupid. You know, obviously he's going to come out and defend the Glazers because he'll be looking at purchasing the full club outright at some point. But like I said to people, and I've said it straight, that you've got to be deluded to think that the Glazers, in exchange for good and positive PR, will then sell Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the football club, when all we've known from the Glazers is pure greed at Manchester United. It's about money. They're not interested about positive PR from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and then they're going to think, oh, he's buttering us up. We might as well then sell him the full club. You know what I mean? It's absolutely ludicrous that people think that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if you do think that out there, but that's my opinion, that you've got to be deluded to think that there's anything but financial motivation for these Glazers.
Well, it's financial for Glazers, and he's being exposed as far as I'm concerned. That's how I read it. That's how a lot of other United fans read it. It's financial. And I certainly don't, and many other United fans do not believe the words what are coming out with him. How can this be someone who you can admire as a businessman, well-educated, everything else like that, when he's paying people to advise him and he's ignoring it, just ignoring it? That in itself should give you things to worry about going forward. He's not taking the advice he's paying for. That in itself, clueless.
To think that the Glazers would even now contemplate in selling Manchester United in the next 5 or even 7 to 10 years, when there's a possibility about a brand new stadium on the horizon and what financial gain that will bring, and plus the value it'll also add on top of the football club. These Glazers ain't going anywhere in the next 10 years, and I can really put my hat on that. Because like I say, it's greed, it's money that they're actually motivated by. And plus, with that new competition that's going on, is it the Club World Cup? What's going on? I'm sure they'll be wanting Manchester United to be involved in that, especially when there's $1 billion in prize money that can be separated out and given to all the participating teams in it. With a lot of the money, the higher prize money, going to all the UEFA teams that are competing in it. These aren't going anywhere in the short term. Hopefully, I'm wrong. I'd love for him to leave in the summertime, as a lot of yous would, or even today. But I just don't see it. And especially when he's coming out with things like that, shielding and positive PR, it just don't make for good reading, does it? It leaves a bitter taste in the mouth.
Well, my bitter taste has run out now, and I've had enough of this. I've had enough of them.
Yeah.
I've had enough of this comments. I'm absolutely disgusted with it, baffled, alarmed. And I know he's having an exit strategy. That's how I see it. And that's how many other United fans see it. People will have different opinions. But me, I'm done with him, right? He just needs to shut up and just get on with sorting this club out in the summer, because he's got big problems. We've all got big problems coming at the start of the season if things don't go right.
I was just looking at us on screen there just briefly before I was going to wrap it up, and I thought, we've proper got red faces, me and you. It's not even warm in here. So this is how it's got us actually talking about it. Our blood pressure must be through the roof right now. But yeah, I'm going to end it right there just for health reasons, to be honest with you.
Yeah, health reasons. I have got angry and I don't want to be.
But yeah, we needed to go through this just to have a chat with yous out there, because most importantly, we want to see and hear your opinions on this in the comment section about the interview we done over the weekend with The Times. So please get involved in it, because we will have a read of some of your comments as well later today. And if you'd like to support the channel, leave a like on the video, as you know it's much appreciated. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.